Naomi Ellis thought she was just swiping to shut her sister up. But when her sarcastic late-night sparked match turns out to be the app's elusive billionaire creator, one impulsive right swipe ignites a connection no algorithm could have predicted. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Naomi Ellis stared at the stack of ungraded science tests on her coffee table. The rain pattered against her apartment window, matching her mood. Another Friday night alone in Portland. "This is pathetic," she muttered, reaching for her glass of wine, her third. Or maybe her fourth. She'd lost count. Her phone buzzed. Her sister Amber calling for their weekly check-in. Naomi sighed and answered, "Please tell me you're not sitting." "Home alone again," Amber said without even saying hello. "Hello to you too," Naomi replied, "and I'm not alone. I have 32 middle schoolers' terrible explanations of photosynthesis to keep me company. Naomi, it's been 8 months since Jake left. You need to get back out there." Naomi winced at the mention of her ex-boyfriend, Jake Collins, the 8th grade history teacher, who had promised her forever, then disappeared without a trace after she lost their baby. 4 months of dating, 2 months of living together, 1 positive pregnancy test, 1 devastating miscarriage, and then nothing, no calls, no texts, just an empty side of the closet and a note that said, "I can't do this, I'm fine, Amber. Really, you're not fine. You're a 27-year-old hermit who talks to pre-teens all day and plants all night." Naomi looked at her collection, 12 houseplants lining the windowsill. At least they didn't leave without saying goodbye. "Have you tried dating apps?" Amber pressed. "Oh God, no. Those are for desperate people. Those are for busy people who don't want to meet creeps at bars, like middle school teachers who work 60 hours a week." Naomi took another sip of wine. "Dating apps are just algorithms and lies," says the woman who taught me how to use Excel spreadsheets to organize my wedding guest list. "You love organizing data. Human connection isn't data. Well, right now your human connection is with a glass of wine and a red pen. Just try it. For me, download 1 app, make 1 profile, swipe on 10 guys, that's all I'm asking." The wine was making Naomi's head fuzzy, and her sister's nagging was worse than her 7th period class before a holiday. "Fine, 1 app, 10 swipes, then will you leave me alone?" "Promise," Amber squealed. "Try Sparked. My friend Jess met her husband on there." After hanging up, Naomi downloaded the app, rolling her eyes the entire time. The sleek interface asked for basic information, and with each glass of wine her answers got snarkier. "Occupation," the app prompted. "Professional dream crusher," Naomi typed, then backspaced. "Middle school science teacher." "Your perfect date?" "Someone who shows up and doesn't ghost me after a personal tragedy," she typed, then deleted. "Coffee and honest conversation." "Something unique about you?" "I can identify which middle schooler farted just by the look on their face," she wrote, laughing to herself. By the time she finished her profile, the wine bottle was empty, and her bio read like a warning label. She added a few photos, 1 from her sister's wedding, 1 with her favorite plant, and 1 from a hike last summer before everything fell apart. "Time to swipe," she said to her empty apartment. The first few profiles were easy rejections. Too young, too old, too many gym selfies. Then a profile appeared that made her laugh out loud. Eli, 30, coffee addict, creator of Sparked. "If we match, I'll buy you breakfast, and maybe change your algorithm." The photo showed a man with messy dark curls and glasses, sitting on a park bench with a coffee cup, looking away from the camera. Not polished enough to be a CEO, definitely. A fake profile. "Yeah, right," Naomi snorted. "And I'm Michelle Obama." She took a screenshot and texted it to Amber. "Look at this fake profile. Sure, the billionaire creator of the app is just hanging out swiping on random women." Amber texted back immediately. "Swipe right for the story." Naomi laughed and swiped right, a final act of wine-fueled rebellion, before dropping her phone on the couch and heading to bed. The next morning, Naomi woke with a slight headache and fuzzy memories of her late-night swiping session. She reached for her phone to check the time and saw a notification from Sparked. "How you have a new match?" Groaning, she opened the app, expecting to see some random guy she'd accidentally approved. Instead, she saw the profile of the supposed app creator, and below it, a message. "So, Where do you want breakfast? Naomi sat up, suddenly wide awake. This had to be a joke. Some scammer who created a fake profile pretending to be famous. Very funny, she typed back. Nice try, but I'm not falling for it. The response came almost immediately. Falling for what? I just offered breakfast. Right. And you're really Eli Grayson, billionaire tech genius who created this app. Guilty as charged. Though I prefer sleep-deprived coffee addict who writes code to billionaire tech genius. Naomi stared at her phone. Was this really happening? Prove it, she challenged. Check your profile settings. I just gave you a lifetime premium membership. Also, I can see that you're typing from the Pearl District in Portland. You joined the app at 11:42 p.m. last night, and you swiped left on 8 guys before me. I could tell you more, but that might seem creepy instead of proof. Naomi's heart raced as she checked her settings. Sure enough, a gold star appeared next to her name, indicating premium status. Okay, that's either really impressive or really terrifying, she wrote back. Welcome to the world of dating apps. So about that breakfast, I'm in Portland for a conference. Courier coffee in an hour? Naomi stared at her phone. This was insane. She should say no. She should block this person. She should make it 2 hours. I need to look less like I spent last night with a bottle of Merlot. Deal. 2 hours later, Naomi stood outside the coffee shop, questioning her sanity. She'd changed outfits 3 times before settling on jeans, a green sweater that matched, her eyes and ankle boots. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she'd put on just enough makeup to hide the evidence of last night's wine. She'd also texted Amber the address of the coffee shop and a promise to call if things got weird. If I don't text you by noon, call the police, she'd written, only half joking. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door. The coffee shop was small and cozy, with wooden tables and the rich scent of freshly ground beans. Her eyes scanned the room until they landed on a man sitting alone by the window. It was him. The same tousled dark curls from the profile, the same glasses. But now she could see he was tall, with broad shoulders under a blue flannel shirt. He hadn't noticed her yet. His attention focused on the laptop in front of him, fingers typing rapidly. Naomi approached slowly, studying him. Up close, he was more handsome than his photo suggested, with a strong jaw covered in stubble and thick eyebrows. But there were dark circles under his eyes and a tension in his shoulders that suggested he carried the weight of something heavy. Eli? She asked. He looked up, and for a moment his eyes widened in surprise. He closed his laptop and stood, extending his hand. Naomi. Hi. I'm Eli. But you know that. Sorry. He ran a hand through his hair, making it even messier. I'm usually more articulate when I've had more coffee. His awkwardness was endearing, making him seem more human and less like the billionaire tech mogul she'd imagined. So you really are. Him, she said, taking the seat across from him. The guy who created Sparked. Co-created, he corrected. My former business partner and I built it together. Something flashed in his eyes, pain, maybe anger, but it disappeared quickly. But yes, that's me, and you're just swiping on your own app. Doesn't that seem weird? Eli smiled, and the warmth of it transformed his face. Probably, but I wanted to see if anyone would swipe on me for me, not for my company or my bank account. I swiped on you because I thought you were fake, Naomi admitted. He laughed, a genuine sound that made her smile too. That's the most honest thing anyone has said to me in years. A waitress approached, and Eli ordered a black coffee. Naomi asked for a latte. So Naomi Ellis, middle school science teacher, who can identify farters by facial expressions, Eli said, repeating her profile description. Why did you join Sparked last night? My sister made me. She thinks 8 months is long enough to get over being ghosted. The words tumbled out before she could stop them, and she immediately regretted her honesty. Eli's expression softened. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's fine. Ancient history. She waved a hand dismissively. What about you? Why is the creator of a dating app single and swiping? He looked down at his coffee. Let's just say when you spend years building something that connects other people, sometimes you forget to connect yourself. There was more to that story, Naomi could tell, but she didn't press. Their coffees arrived, and the conversation flowed more easily than Naomi had expected. Eli asked about her students, laughing at her stories of middle school drama. She asked about coding, and he explained it in a way that actually made sense. He was smart but not condescending, successful but not showy. "You're not what I expected," Naomi said over her now cold latte, arms crossed. Eli looked at her, deadpan. "You swiped right on a billionaire with a bio that said coffee addict. What exactly were you expecting?" She smirked. "Honestly, a scammer." His smile faltered. "Ever?" So slightly, she tilted her head. "You're not, are you?" He hesitated. "No, but I might be the worst idea you've ever had." She laughed until she saw the way he looked at her, like she was already rewriting him. And in that moment, her heart stuttered. His phone buzzed, breaking the spell. He glanced at it and frowned. "I have to go, board meeting." He stood and left a $20 bill on the table. "But I'd like to see you again." Naomi hesitated. This man was nothing like Jake. He was successful, interesting, and made her laugh. But he was also complicated, with secrets behind his eyes. "I don't know if that's a good idea," she said honestly. "Probably not," he agreed. "But I'm going to be in Portland for a week. If you change your mind, text me." He scribbled his number on a napkin and handed it to her. As he walked away, Naomi couldn't help but wonder what she was getting herself into. She'd only wanted 10 swipes to get her sister off her back. Instead, she'd had breakfast with a billionaire who looked at her like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Her phone buzzed with a text from Amber. "Still alive?" Was it really him? Naomi stared at the napkin with Eli's number, then back at her phone. "It was him," she typed back. "And I think I might be in trouble." Naomi spent the rest of her Saturday grading papers, but she couldn't focus. Her mind kept drifting back to the coffee shop and the man with the messy curls and tired eyes. "This is ridiculous," she told her favorite plant, a fiddle leaf fig she'd named Fernando. "He's probably not even interested. It was just breakfast." But Eli's number on the napkin seemed to stare at her from the coffee table. She'd already entered it into her phone, though she hadn't texted him yet. By Sunday evening, Naomi had convinced herself that the whole encounter had been some weird fluke. Billionaires didn't date middle school teachers. That wasn't how the world worked. Monday morning came with the chaos that only middle schoolers could create. A science experiment gone wrong, a fight over a stolen pencil, and a 7th grade girl crying in the bathroom about a Snapchat post. By the time the final bell rang, Naomi had almost forgotten about Eli. Almost. She was packing up her bag when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I just walked past a middle school and heard screaming. Made me think of you. How was your day?" Naomi stared at her phone, a smile spreading across her face despite herself. 3 chemical spills, 1 escaped classroom pet, and a lesson on cellular division that somehow turned into a debate about alien life forms, so pretty normal. She hit send before she could overthink it. His response came quickly. "Sounds more exciting than my day of meetings with lawyers and executives who think they know my app better than I do." Naomi hesitated, then typed, "Poor billionaire. Life must be so hard. You'd be surprised. Money complicates everything. I'd trade places with you and the aliens any day." Something about his words rang true. There was a genuine weariness behind them. "Tell you what," she replied. "You can come explain cellular division to 30 12-year-olds tomorrow, and I'll go sit in your fancy meetings. Deal. Dinner tonight to discuss the details. I know a place with great pasta and 0 paparazzi." Naomi bit her lip. This was moving fast, but there was something about Eli that made her want to say yes. "Okay, but I need to go home and change first. I'll pick you up at 7? She hesitated before sending him her address. It felt strange, giving her home address to someone she'd only met once. But something told her she could trust him. At 7 p.m. sharp, a black car pulled up outside Naomi's apartment building. She'd changed into a simple green dress and let her dark hair fall loose around her shoulders. Nothing fancy, but nicer than her work clothes. When she opened the front door, Eli was standing there in dark jeans and a grey button-down shirt, still, looking rumpled but in a way that seemed deliberate rather than accidental. He'd traded his glasses for contacts, revealing eyes that were a warm brown. "You look beautiful," he said, his voice soft. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she replied, trying to ignore the flutter in her stomach. The restaurant was small and intimate, tucked away on a side street. The host greeted Eli by name, leading them to a corner table partially hidden by a partition. "You come here a lot?" Naomi asked as they sat down. "Whenever I'm in Portland," Eli said. "The owner knows me from college. Before Sparked. Before—" He trailed off. "Before you became famous," Naomi finished. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Before everything got complicated. The waiter brought menus and a bottle of wine that Eli had apparently pre-ordered. As they looked over the options, Naomi studied him across the table. In the dim lighting, the shadows under his eyes were less noticeable, but the tension in his shoulders remained. "So," she said after they ordered, "tell me the truth. Why did you swipe right on me? And don't say it was my charming profile. I know what I wrote when I was 3 glasses in." Eli laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. "Actually, it was exactly your profile. Everyone else on there is trying so hard to seem perfect. You were just real, sarcastic, maybe a little bitter, definitely not trying to impress anyone." "That doesn't sound very flattering." "It is, though. Do you know how rare that is, especially for someone like me? Everyone wants something from me. Money, connections, status. You just wanted to be left alone." Naomi took a sip of her wine. "So you were attracted to my desire to not date anyone?" "That's twisted. I was attracted to your honesty. And your eyes and the fact that you recognized a ficus lyrata in your profile picture." "Fernando," Naomi said, smiling. "He's my oldest plant." "You name your plants?" "Only the special ones. Don't judge." Eli held up his hands. "No judgment. I name my code projects, so I'm not exactly in a position to talk." Their food arrived, and the conversation flowed easily. Eli told her about growing up as a shy, awkward kid who found refuge in computers. Naomi shared stories about her family, her overbearing but loving parents, her sister Amber's perfect life. "What about you?" Eli asked. "Your profile said you're recently heartbroken. What happened, if you don't mind me asking?" Naomi looked down at her plate. She never talked about Jake, not even with Amber. But something about Eli made her want to open up. "His name was Jake. We taught at the same school. We dated for 4 months, lived together for 2. Then I got pregnant." She saw Eli's expression shift, but he didn't interrupt. It wasn't planned. We were still figuring things out. But he seemed just excited. Started talking about names, looking at bigger apartments. She took a deep breath. "Then I lost the baby. 12 weeks in. And 2 days later, I came home from the doctor to find half the closet empty and a note saying he couldn't do this. Naomi, I'm so sorry." Eli's voice was gentle. She shrugged, trying to seem casual despite the lump in her throat. "It's fine. It was 8 months ago." "It's not fine. He left when you needed him most." The simple acknowledgement nearly broke her. For months she'd pretended it hadn't destroyed her, that she was strong enough to handle it alone. "Anyway," she said, blinking back tears, "that's why I'm not exactly eager to jump back into dating." Eli reached across the table and took her hand. His touch was warm, gentle. "Thank you for telling me. I know that couldn't have been easy." Something passed between them in that moment, a connection that went beyond their brief acquaintance. Naomi felt seen in a way she hadn't in a long time. The rest of dinner passed with lighter conversation. Eli told her about his travels, the strange demands of being suddenly wealthy, the weird requests he got from strangers. Naomi made him laugh with stories about her students' misadventures. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront, the lights of the city reflecting on the river. The night air was cool, and when Naomi shivered, Eli wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. "So how long are you in Portland?" she asked. "Just until Friday. We're having some issues with the company that I need to handle in person." "Issues?" Eli's expression clouded. "It's complicated corporate stuff." She could tell he was holding back, but she didn't push. They all had their secrets. When they reached her apartment building, Naomi found herself reluctant for the night to end. "Would you like to come up for coffee?" she asked, surprising herself. Eli looked torn. "I want to," he said, "but I have an early meeting tomorrow." "Rain check?" Naomi nodded. trying not to feel disappointed. He was being a gentleman, not rushing. "Things? I had a really good time tonight," he said, stepping closer. "Me too." He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. But Naomi found herself rising on her tiptoes to meet him halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, a tentative question. Then, as she responded, it deepened, his hands cupping her face with surprising tenderness. Naomi felt something unlock inside her, a door she'd kept firmly shut since Jake left. When they finally broke apart, both a little breathless, Eli rested his forehead against hers. "I'm really glad you swiped right," he whispered, "even though I thought you were fake, especially because of that." The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind. Eli texted her between meetings, and they met for dinner each night. On Wednesday, he showed up at her school with lunch. Nothing fancy, just sandwiches from a local deli, but the gesture made her heart flutter. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. Eli told her about growing up in Seattle with parents who never understood his fascination with computers. Naomi shared her dreams of someday opening a science camp for underprivileged kids. What they didn't talk about was the future. Naomi didn't ask what would happen when he returned to Seattle on Friday. Eli didn't mention whether they would try long distance or if this was just a week-long fling. Instead, they lived in the moment, stealing kisses between conversations, holding hands as they walked through the city. It was like a bubble, separate from reality, and Naomi was afraid to burst it. On Thursday night, Eli seemed distracted during dinner. He checked his phone repeatedly, frowning at whatever he saw there. "Is everything okay?" Naomi finally asked. "Just work stuff." He put his phone away. "Sorry. Trouble in tech paradise?" He sighed. "Something like that. The board wants to sell Spark to Connexus Media. Isn't that good? Wouldn't you make even more money?" "Hey, it's not about the money." His voice was suddenly sharp. "Connexus would ruin everything we built. They'd turn Spark into a data mining operation, selling user information to the highest bidder. But it's your company, can't you stop it?" Eli's expression darkened. "Not anymore. My co-founder, Ryan, owns half the company. And after our last round of funding, we both became minority shareholders. The board has control now." Naomi reached for his hand. "I'm sorry, that sounds awful. The worst part is that this was Ryan's plan all along. We started Sparked with this idea of creating genuine connections in a digital world. Then it got big, really big, and suddenly all Ryan could see were dollar signs." There was real pain in his voice, the kind that came from betrayal. "What happened between you two?" she asked gently. Eli was quiet for a long moment. "He was my best friend. We were roommates in college, started coding together sophomore year. Sparked was our dream, an algorithm that could find real compatibility, not just surface-level matches." He took a sip of his wine before continuing. 3 years ago, right after our IPO, I found out he'd been meeting secretly with Connexus, planning to sell us out. We had a huge fight. He accused me of being naive, said I didn't understand business. I accused him of selling our users' privacy for profit. That must have been hard. It was like losing a brother. We haven't spoken since except through lawyers. And now he's sided with the board. The vote is tomorrow and it looks like I'm going to lose." Naomi squeezed his hand. "I'm sorry, Eli." He looked at her, his eyes clearing as if remembering where he was. "I didn't mean to dump all this on you. It's okay, that's what friends do." The word felt inadequate for what was growing between them, but she wasn't ready to name it yet. After dinner, they walked back to her apartment in comfortable silence, his arm around her shoulders. At her door, he kissed her with an intensity that took her breath away. "Stay," she whispered against his lips. He pulled back slightly, searching her face. "Are you sure?" In answer, she took his hand and led him inside. Naomi woke to sunlight streaming through her blinds and the unfamiliar weight of an arm around her waist. For a moment, disorientation washed over her. Then she remembered Eli, the soft kisses that turned desperate, the whispered confessions in the dark. She turned to look at him, still asleep beside her. In sleep, the worry lines disappeared from his forehead, making him look younger, more peaceful. She resisted the urge to touch his face, not wanting to wake him, but as she shifted, his eyes fluttered open, focusing on her with sleepy confusion that quickly turned to recognition. "Morning," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "Morning," she replied, suddenly shy despite the intimacy they'd shared. He pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "What time is it?" She glanced at the clock. "Just after 7. Eli groaned. "My meeting's at 9. "The big vote," he nodded, the peaceful expression vanishing as reality intruded. "Yeah. It'll be okay," she said, though she had no way of knowing if that was true. He looked at her, a sad smile on his lips. "No matter what happens with the vote, meeting you has been the best part of this trip." The words should have made her happy, but there was a finality to them that made her stomach knot. "Eli," his phone rang, cutting her off. He reached for it, frowning at the screen. "I have to take this. It's my lawyer." As he took the call, Naomi slipped out of bed and headed for the shower. Under the hot water, she tried to sort through her feelings. It had been less than a week since she'd swiped right on a profile she thought was fake. How had she fallen so fast, and what would happen now? Tomorrow, Eli would return to Seattle, to his company, to his real life. And she would go back to her classroom, to her plants, to her quiet existence. When she emerged from the bathroom, Eli was dressed and pacing the small living room, phone pressed to his ear. "I don't care what it takes," he was saying. "Find me a loophole, find me anything." He looked up as she entered, his expression grim. "I have to go," he told the person on the phone. "I'll call you from the car." "Bad news?" Naomi asked as he ended the call. "Ryan moved the vote up. It's happening in an hour." He ran a hand through his hair, making it stand up in all directions. "I have to get to the hotel." "Of course." She tried to keep the disappointment from her voice. "Good luck." He crossed the room in 2 strides, taking her face in his hands. "I'll call you as soon as it's over. And tonight, can I see you tonight?" She nodded, her heart aching at the thought that it would be their last night. He kissed her quickly, then was gone, leaving her apartment feeling strangely empty without his presence. Naomi got ready for work mechanically, her mind elsewhere. As she gathered her teaching materials, her phone pinged with a text, but it wasn't from Eli. It was from Amber. "OMG sis, why didn't you tell me? It's all over the internet." Attached was a link to a gossip website. With a sense of dread, Naomi clicked it. The headline made her blood run cold. Sparked founder Eli Grayson caught with mystery woman. Real romance or app experiment? And there, beneath the sensational text, was a photo of her and Eli, kissing. Outside her apartment building, Naomi stared at her phone in horror. The photo was grainy but unmistakable, her and Eli in a passionate embrace outside her apartment building. The article beneath was full of speculation and thinly veiled innuendo. Sienna Grayson, who has maintained a notoriously private personal life, was spotted with an unidentified woman in Portland. Sources close to Sparked suggest this may be more than a casual fling. With the dating app's future hanging in the balance, is Grayson testing his own algorithm? Or has the tech billionaire finally found love? Her phone rang, Amber calling. Naomi ignored it. She didn't have time for her sister's excitement or questions. She needed to get to work, to act normal, to pretend her private life wasn't suddenly splashed across the internet. She grabbed her bag and headed out, half expecting to find photographers lurking. But her street was quiet, her neighbors oblivious to her sudden notoriety. The school hallways felt normal too, filled with the usual chaos of preteen energy. Naomi slipped into her classroom, grateful that middle schoolers rarely followed tech news. Her phone buzzed repeatedly throughout the morning. Amber, her mother, even friends she hadn't spoken to in months. She silenced it during classes, but by lunch break she couldn't avoid looking anymore. There was still nothing from Eli. Finally, as she picked at her salad in the teacher's lounge, a text from him appeared. "I'm so sorry about the photos. Are you okay?" She typed back, "Define okay. My sister's already planning our wedding and my mum wants to know if you're coming to Thanksgiving." His response was quick. "I'm really sorry. I didn't think anyone would recognize me in Portland." "So this happens to you a lot?" "Not usually. Bad timing with the company news." Naomi waited for more, an explanation about the vote or plans to see her tonight as he'd promised. But nothing came. The afternoon dragged on endlessly. When the final bell rang, she checked her phone again. Still nothing new from Eli. She was packing up when Principal Thompson appeared in her doorway. "Ms. Ellis? A word?" Naomi followed him to his office, her stomach churning. Had he seen the articles too? Once inside, he motioned for her to sit. "I've received several calls from reporters today," he said without preamble. Naomi's cheeks burned. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. I had no idea." He held up a hand. "You have nothing to apologize for, Naomi. Your personal life is your business. But I need to know, will this become a distraction for your students?" "No, sir, it's nothing really. Just a friend visiting from out of town." He nodded, unconvinced. "Just be prepared. Middle schoolers are more aware than we give them credit for, and their parents definitely follow gossip sites." "I understand." As she left his office, her phone buzzed with another text from Eli. "Can we talk in person?" She typed back. "When and where?" "My hotel. The Nines. Room 1504. I can't really go out right now." Naomi hesitated. She was annoyed that he hadn't contacted her all day and suspicious of his sudden desire to keep her hidden away. Was he embarrassed to be seen with her now that their relationship was public? But curiosity won out. "I'll be there in an hour." The Nines was the most expensive hotel in Portland, all marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Naomi felt out of place in her work clothes as she crossed the lobby. A few people glanced her way, but no one seemed to recognize her from the grainy photos. In the elevator, she checked her reflection in the mirrored walls. Her dark hair was coming loose from its ponytail, and there were smudges of fatigue beneath her eyes. Not exactly looking her best to face whatever was coming. She knocked on room 1504, her heart pounding. The door opened immediately, revealing Eli. He looked terrible. Still handsome, but with deeper shadows under his eyes and a day's worth of stubble darkening his jaw. "Naomi." He pulled her inside, checking the hallway before closing the door. "Thank you for coming." The suite was luxurious, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Papers were scattered across a desk in the corner, and an open laptop displayed a string of emails. "What's going on, Eli?" she asked. "Why have you been avoiding me?" "All day. I haven't—" He stopped himself. "I'm sorry, it's been complicated." "The vote?" He nodded, rubbing a hand across his face. "We lost. Connexus is buying Sparked. The papers will be signed next week. I'm sorry." Despite her irritation, she felt genuine sympathy. This company was his creation, his vision. "There's more." He gestured to the desk. "The timing of those photos wasn't an accident. Ryan knew about us." "How?" "Because he's been tracking me through my own app." The words hung in the air between them. Naomi felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean, tracking you?" Eli sighed heavily. "Last night, after you fell asleep, I got an email from one of the developers I still trust. He found a backdoor, code in the app's latest update, a way to monitor specific user accounts. Ryan ordered it installed 3 months ago." "But why would he track you?" "To know my movements, my connections." Eli's eyes met hers. "To have leverage for the vote." Naomi sat down on the edge of the bed, trying to process this. "Are you saying he used the app to spy on you? Isn't that illegal?" "Probably. But that's not the worst part." Eli hesitated. "Naomi, he knew I was going to be in Portland. He knew where I was staying, what restaurants I visited, and he knew about you." "Me? But how?" "I only downloaded the app last Friday night." Eli's expression was pained. "That's what I've been trying to figure out all day. I've been going through the code, looking at the data logs." He took a deep breath. "Ryan didn't just track my account. He's been using the algorithm to manipulate matches." The implications slowly dawned on her. "Are you saying that our match wasn't real?" "I don't know." He ran a hand through his hair. "The code shows that Ryan set parameters to prioritize showing my profile to certain types of users in Portland during the dates of my trip." "What types of users?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Recently single women, teachers, users with similar interests to mine." Naomi felt sick. "So I was targeted. This whole thing was a setup." "Not exactly. The algorithm still needed compatibility factors to create a match, and you still had to swipe right." He moved toward her, reaching for her hand, but she pulled. Away. Did you know, she demanded. When we met for breakfast, did you know it might be manipulated? No. His denial was vehement. Naomi, I would never do that. I had no idea until today. She wanted to believe him. But doubts were creeping in, poisoning the perfect week they'd shared. Why would Ryan do this? Just to distract you from the vote? Partly. Eli hesitated. But also to discredit me. To make it look like I was using the app for personal gain, manipulating the algorithm to find dates. The photos, the timing of the articles. It's all to make me look unethical before the Connexus deal goes through. Naomi stood up, needing space. So what am I to you, Eli? A victim of your company drama? A pawn in your fight with your ex-partner? No. He moved closer, his eyes pleading. You're the one real thing that's happened to me in years. Ryan may have engineered our match, but everything after that first swipe was real. You have to believe that. She wanted to. The pain in his eyes, the gentleness of his touch when he finally took her hand. It all felt genuine. But how could she trust anything now? I need time to think, she said. I understand. He released her hand. But there's something else you should know. Those articles, they're going to get worse before they get better. What do you mean? Ryan's people have been feeding information to the press. They're going to paint you as either a gold digger or a publicity stunt. Anger flashed through her. That's ridiculous. No one even knew who I was a week ago. I know. And I'll do everything I can to protect you. My PR team is already working on it, but he hesitated. It might get ugly. The enormity of the situation hit her all at once. Her quiet life was over, at least for now. Students' parents would see the articles. Her school administration would question her judgment. Strangers would make assumptions about her character, and all because she'd swiped right on a dating app after too much wine. I think I should go, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Naomi, please. Stay. Let's figure this out together. I can't think clearly here. She moved toward the door. I need to process all this. He didn't try to stop her, but his expression was desperate. Will you at least let me call you later? She nodded. It was the best she could offer right now. Outside the hotel, Naomi took deep breaths of the cool evening air. Her phone was still, buzzing with notifications, friends, colleagues, even former students sending links to the articles. She turned it off and walked, letting the familiar streets of Portland calm her racing thoughts. By the time she reached her apartment, she'd made a decision. She needed answers, and there was only one person who might have them. Inside, she turned her phone back on and scrolled through her sparked messages until she found it, the original. Notification of her match with Eli. There was a small information icon next to his name. She tapped it, revealing app details she'd never bothered to explore. There, at the bottom of the screen, match compatibility, 94%. Was that real? Or part of Ryan's manipulation? She opened her laptop and began searching, looking for anything she could find about Sparked's algorithm. Most articles were fluff pieces about the app's success, but eventually she found a technical breakdown on a coding blog. According to the article, Sparked used a complex set of factors to determine compatibility. Shared interests, communication patterns, psychological traits derived from profile creation. It was considered the most sophisticated matching system in the industry. Could all of that be faked? Or had the algorithm seen something real between her and Eli, something that existed regardless of Ryan's interference? Her phone rang, startling. It was Amber. Finally, her sister exclaimed when Naomi answered. I've been trying to reach you all day. Is it true? Are you really dating Eli Grayson? It's complicated, Naomi sighed. Complicated how? The guy is gorgeous, brilliant, and worth billions. What's complicated about that? The part where our relationship might have been engineered by his vindictive ex-business partner as a corporate sabotage scheme. There was a pause. Okay, wow, you need to tell me everything. So Naomi did, the whole story spilling out, the wine night, the impulsive swipe, the breakfast that turned into the most intense week of her life. And then the bombshell Eli had dropped today. That's insane, Amber said when she finished, but also kind of romantic. I mean, even if the match was manipulated, everything after that was real, right? You both chose to see each other again. But How can I know what was real and what wasn't? What if the whole thing was just data? Did it feel real? Amber asked simply. Naomi thought about Eli's laugh, the way his eyes lit up when he talked about his original vision for Sparked, the gentle way he'd held her after she told him about Jake and the baby, the vulnerability in his voice when he spoke about Ryan's betrayal. Yes, she admitted. It felt real. Then maybe that's your answer. After hanging up, Naomi sat on her couch, absently stroking Fernando's leaves as she thought. Her phone buzzed with a text from Eli. "Can I come over? I need to see you." She hesitated, then typed, "Okay." 20 minutes later, there was a knock at her door. When she opened it, Eli stood there looking even more exhausted than before, but with a determined set to his jaw. "I found something," he said, holding up his laptop. "Can I show you?" She let him in, maintaining a careful distance as he set the computer on her coffee table. "After you left, I kept digging into the code. I wanted to understand exactly what Ryan had done." He opened a program with lines of symbols and text that meant nothing to Naomi. "Here's the manipulation. Parameters set to show my profile to users in Portland matching certain demographics." He scrolled down. "But then I found this, the actual match calculations." He pointed to a series of numbers. "This is our compatibility score from the original algorithm before any manipulation. 94%. "I saw that in the app," Naomi said. "Ryan could make my profile appear on your screen, but he couldn't fake the compatibility assessment. That's hard-coded into the original algorithm we built." Eli looked at her intently. "Our match was real, Naomi. Whatever else Ryan did, he didn't create that." She wanted to believe him, but doubt still lingered. "How do I know you didn't just code this to convince me?" Instead of being offended, Eli nodded as if he'd expected the question. "You don't, and I wouldn't blame you for not trusting me. But there's something else." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "I'm deleting the app right now, not just from my phone. I'm deactivating my account completely." "Why?" "Because I don't want an algorithm between us anymore. I want this to be just you and me, no data, no code." He pressed a few buttons, then showed her the screen. "Account deactivated." The gesture touched her, but she was still cautious. "Eli, it's not that simple. Those articles, the photos, my life is already affected. My principal called me in today. My students' parents are going to see those headlines." "I know, and I'm so sorry." His voice was raw with regret. "If you want me to go to stay away from you, I will. I'll issue a statement saying we're just friends, that the photos were misleading. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you." The offer was sincere. She could see that. He was giving her an out, a way to return to her quiet life. But was that what she wanted? "What about you?" she asked. "What do you want?" Eli's expression softened. "I want you. I want more mornings waking up next to you, more evenings talking about everything and nothing. I want to see if this thing between us is as real as it feels." He took a step closer. "But not if it hurts you." Naomi felt the walls around her heart beginning to crack. "I'm scared, Eli, not just of the publicity, but of being hurt again. Jake left when things got hard. How do I know you won't do the same?" "You don't." His honesty was refreshing. "But I can promise you this. I will never disappear without a word. I will never leave you to face pain alone. And I will spend every day trying to be worthy of your trust." He reached for her hand, and this time she let him take it. "I'm losing my company," he said quietly, "the thing I've built my whole adult life around. But the thought of losing you after just a week feels worse somehow. That has to mean something, doesn't it?" Naomi looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of deception. All she saw was vulnerability and hope. "It means something," she agreed. Softly, he pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. "So where does that leave us?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but I think we should find out." His kiss was gentle, a question rather than a demand. When they broke apart, she saw something new in his eyes, determination. "Whatever happens with Sparked, with Ryan, with the press, we face it together." "Deal?" "Deal," she whispered. The next morning, Naomi woke to the sound of tapping keys. She opened her eyes to find Eli sitting up beside her in bed, laptop balanced on his knees, fingers flying across the keyboard. "What are you doing?" she asked sleepily. He glanced down at her with a smile. "Fighting back." She sat up, peering at the screen. It was filled with lines of code. "Against Ryan?" In a way. His expression was fierce, focused. "I may have lost control of Sparked as a company, but the algorithm is still mine. I wrote most of it. What does that mean?" "It means I'm making a copy, a clean version without all the data mining and tracking code Ryan added." He continued, typing as he spoke. "I'm going back to the original vision, an app that creates genuine connections, not one that exploits them. Can you do that legally? Won't there be non-compete clauses when Connexus takes over?" "Probably, but I'm willing to fight those battles when they come." He closed the laptop and turned to her fully. "This past week made me remember why I created Sparked in the first place. I wanted to help people find what we found." His words warmed her, but a nagging worry remained. "What about the distance? You live in Seattle, I'm here." "About that," he took her hand. "The board meeting yesterday wasn't just about the sale. They also terminated my contract. As of next week, I'm unemployed." "Eli, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. It's actually freeing. For the first time in years, I can go wherever I want, do whatever I want." His eyes held hers. "I could stay in Portland, for instance, at least for a while." The implication was clear, and it both thrilled and terrified her. "Isn't that moving a little fast?" "Probably," he agreed. "But I'm not suggesting we move in together or anything. Just let me stick around, get to know each other without a ticking clock." It was tempting, the thought of more dinners, more conversations, more mornings like this. But caution still held her back. "What about the publicity, the articles?" "Already." Handling it, he reached for his phone. "Check the news." Naomi grabbed her own phone from the nightstand and opened her browser. The top technology headlines now told a different story. Sparked co-founder accuses partner of privacy violations. He used our app to spy on users. Eli Grayson blows whistle on Sparked privacy concerns ahead of Connexus sale, tech billionaire reveals. "My own app was weaponized against me." Eli had gone public with everything. Ryan's backdoor code, the tracking, the manipulation of matches. He'd turned the narrative completely around. "You did this overnight?" she asked, impressed. "I have a good PR team, and the tech blogs love a scandal, especially one with corporate espionage angles. What will Ryan do?" "Deny everything, probably. But I have the code to prove it." Eli's expression was grim. "He'll come after me legally, try to enforce non-competes, maybe sue for defamation, but I'm prepared for that." "And what about us?" Naomi gestured to her phone. "Are we part of this new narrative too?" "Only if you want to be." He took her hand, again. "The articles mention that Ryan tracked my dating activity, but they don't name you or show the photos. Your privacy is still intact as much as possible." Relief washed over her. "Thank you. I meant what I said last night, Naomi. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you." His thumb traced circles on her palm, including walking away if that's what you want. The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. This man, who had lost so much already, was willing to lose her too if it would shield her from harm. Jake had run at the first sign of hardship. Eli was running toward it, determined to face whatever came next together. In that moment, her decision crystallized. "I don't want you to walk away," she said softly. "I want you to stay." His smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. "Yeah? Yeah." She leaned forward to kiss him. "But maybe we should stay in today. Let the news cycle move on a bit." Eli pulled her closer. "I can think of worse ways to spend a Friday." Outside, rain began to fall, tapping against the windows. But inside Naomi's apartment, something new was blooming, something that had started with an algorithm, but had grown into something the code could never have predicted. As Eli's lips met hers, Naomi finally let herself believe that some connections were too real for even the best algorithm to explain. But in the back of her mind, a small doubt lingered. Could she really trust this whirlwind romance? Or would she regret swiping right? On Eli Grayson's profile? Her phone buzzed with an incoming call, interrupting her thoughts. She glanced at the screen, not recognizing the number. "Should I get that?" she asked. Eli shrugged. "Up to you." "Curious," she answered. "Hello? Is this Naomi Ellis?" The woman's voice was cool, professional. "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Vanessa Clark. I'm calling from Connexus Media's legal department. We understand you've been involved with Eli Grayson." Naomi's blood ran cold. She looked at Eli, who was watching her with concern. "I need to speak with you about certain allegations Mr. Grayson has made," the woman continued, "and about information we've uncovered regarding your match on Sparked." "What information?" Naomi asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Information that suggests your meeting wasn't as coincidental as Mr. Grayson might have led you to believe." "What exactly are you implying?" Naomi asked, her heart pounding as she put the phone on speaker so Eli could hear. "I'm not implying anything, Ms. Ellis," Vanessa Clark replied smoothly. "I'm stating that we have evidence suggesting Mr. Grayson personally manipulated the Sparked algorithm to find you." Eli's face drained of color. He shook his head vehemently, mouthing, "It's not true." "That's ridiculous," Naomi said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why would he do that? Perhaps to create a sympathetic story for the press. A real romance to counter the corporate takeover narrative?" The woman's tone was coldly professional. Or maybe he just wanted to prove his algorithm worked by engineering a perfect match. Eli reached for the phone. "This is Eli Grayson. Whatever Ryan told you is a lie." "Mr. Grayson," Vanessa's voice betrayed a hint of satisfaction. "How convenient. I was hoping to speak with you as well." "I didn't manipulate anything," Eli said firmly. "Ryan installed tracking code to monitor my activity and engineered profile visibility. I have proof." "Do you?" "Because we have the system. Logs showing you accessed the back-end algorithm parameters from your personal laptop on the night Ms. Ellis created her profile." Naomi looked at Eli, doubt creeping in despite herself. Had he been lying all along? "That's impossible," Eli said, but his voice wavered slightly. "I was at dinner that night. Until 10:30 p.m. Ms. Ellis created her profile at 11:42 p.m. You accessed the system at 11:47 p.m. 5 minutes, Mr. Grayson, just long enough to set up a special parameter. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental." Naomi felt sick. "Let me guess," Eli said, his voice hardening. "Ryan provided these logs. They came directly from the Sparked servers you no longer control." Vanessa paused. "We are prepared to go public with this information, Mr. Grayson, unless you retract your allegations about privacy violations." It was blackmail, plain and simple. Naomi watched Eli's face, searching for signs of guilt or deception. His expression was a mixture of anger and desperation. "Don't threaten me, Ms. Clark," he said. "You're working with someone who violated user privacy on a massive scale. That won't play well in the press, no matter what you claim about me. Perhaps. But how will your new relationship survive when Ms. Ellis learns you engineered your meeting? That the man she thinks she's falling for manipulated an app to find her specifically?" Naomi had heard enough. "Stop," she said firmly. "You don't know anything about our relationship. I know it was built on a lie, Ms. Ellis, and I'm offering you the truth." "The truth?" Naomi laughed bitterly. "You're offering corporate blackmail and manipulation. I'm not interested." She reached over and ended the call before Vanessa could respond. For a moment, neither she nor Eli spoke. The rain continued to tap against the windows, filling the silence. Finally, Naomi looked at him. "Did you do it? Did you manipulate the algorithm to find me?" "No." His eyes met hers, unflinching. "I swear to you, Naomi, I never accessed those parameters." "Then how do they have logs showing you did?" Eli ran a hand through his hair. "They must be fabricated or—" He stopped, realization dawning on his face. "My laptop. It was in my hotel room every day while I was out. Ryan has a keycard to access any room in the hotel chain. It's a perk of his platinum status." "You think he used your laptop to access the system, making it look like it was you?" "It's possible. I never log out of the admin portal. There was never a reason to when I was the only one using my computer." Eli's expression darkened. "He could have easily accessed it while I was out with you." It was a plausible explanation. But was it the truth? Naomi didn't know what to believe anymore. How can I trust any of this, Eli? How do I know what's real and what's manipulation? He moved closer, taking her hands in his. Look at me, Naomi. Really look. Everything I've told you about my life, about my feelings for you, it's all true. You're a teacher who uses plants to heal from heartbreak. I'm a coder who lost sight of why I created Sparked in the first place. We're both broken in our own ways, both scared to trust again. But this week with you has been the most real thing in my life in years. His words resonated with her, matching her own experience, but doubt still lingered. Even if you didn't manipulate the algorithm, she said slowly. How do I know you didn't notice the match was engineered and just went along with it? You said yourself you can see user data. You would have known I just joined, that I swiped after midnight on a Friday. Eli's face fell. I didn't check your data before we met. I wouldn't do that. But you could have. Yes, he admitted. I could have. The admission hung between them, a reminder of the imbalance in their relationship. He had access to data about her from the start. She had only what he chose to share. Naomi pulled her hands away. I need some time to think, Eli. This is all too much. He nodded, pain evident in his eyes. I understand. She stood up, needing space. I'm going to take a shower. When I come out, maybe we can figure out what to do about Connexus and their threats. In the bathroom, Naomi let the hot water wash over her, trying to clear her head. The past week had been a whirlwind, from reluctant app download to romance with a billionaire to corporate intrigue. It was like living in some bizarre alternate reality, and yet the feelings were real. The connection she felt with Eli, the way he understood her in a way Jake never had, that couldn't be engineered, could it? When she emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in her robe, she found Eli at her kitchen table, laptop open, typing furiously. What are you doing? She asked. He looked up, determination in his eyes. Finding proof. If Ryan accessed my laptop, there should be evidence. And is there? Maybe. He turned the screen toward her. Look at this login record. There's a gap in my typing activity every day this week, usually around lunchtime when we were together, but there's continued system access during those times. Naomi looked at the data, not fully understanding the technical details, but grasping the implication. So someone was using your account while you weren't at your computer. Exactly. Eli pointed to a specific entry. And here, this is from last night, when we were both here. My account accessed Sparked's user database at 2. But we were asleep then. Yes, which means someone else used my credentials. His eyes locked with hers. I didn't do what they're accusing me of, Naomi. Ryan is setting me up. She wanted to believe him. Everything inside her wanted to trust this man who had awakened feelings she thought were long dead. What do we do now? She asked. We fight back. But I need to know, are we in this together? Or do you want out? It was the crucial question. She could walk away now, try to distance herself from the whole mess. Eli would understand. He'd already offered to let her go, or she could stay, choosing to trust him despite the doubts, the complications, the uncertain future. Jake left when things got hard, she said quietly. He didn't even give me a chance to fight for us. I'm not Jake, Eli replied, his voice gentle but firm. No, she agreed. You're not. She took a deep breath. I'm in, Eli. Whatever happens, we face it together. Relief washed over his features. He stood and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. Thank you, he whispered against her hair. They spent the rest of the day strategizing. Eli worked on retrieving more evidence of Ryan's access to his laptop, while Naomi prepared for the inevitable questions at school on Monday. They drafted statements for the press, with Eli insisting that Naomi's privacy be protected as much as possible. By evening, they had a plan. Rather than hiding from the allegations, they would confront them head-on. Are you sure about this? Naomi asked as Eli finished an email to a tech journalist he trusted. Once we do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. He closed the laptop. Ryan and Connexus want to paint me as the villain, using their algorithm for personal gain, but I can prove they're the ones exploiting users' data. And what about us? How do we prove our relationship is real? Eli smiled, touching her cheek. We don't have to prove anything to anyone but ourselves. Monday morning arrived with a media storm. The tech journalist Eli had contacted published a detailed expose on Ryan's deception, complete with evidence of the backdoor code and unauthorized access to Eli's account. Social media erupted with users demanding answers about their privacy. On Sparked, Connexus's stock price dropped sharply as investors worried about potential lawsuits and regulatory investigations. By midday, the company issued a statement distancing itself from Ryan and announcing a complete security review of Sparked's code before finalizing the acquisition. Naomi faced her own challenges at school. As she'd expected, some students had seen the articles. A few brave 8th graders asked if she was really dating the app guy. She neither confirmed nor denied, simply saying that her personal life was private. Principal Thompson called her in again, but this time his concern was more for her well-being than the school's reputation. "Are you okay with all this attention, Naomi?" he asked kindly. "It can't be easy." "I'm handling it," she assured him. "It'll blow over soon." By the end of the school day, she had 3 missed calls from Eli. When she finally reached him, his voice was brimming with excitement. "They're backing down," he said without preamble. "Connexus is putting the acquisition on hold pending investigation of Ryan's actions." "That's good, right?" "It's better than good. Some of the board members are having second thoughts about the whole deal. And Ryan's been placed on administrative leave. So you might not lose Sparked after all?" "It's possible." He paused. "But honestly, I'm not sure I want it back, at least not in its current form. I've been thinking about starting fresh, building something new with the lessons I've learned. A new dating app. Not exactly. Something broader. A platform for genuine connection that puts privacy first. No data mining. No selling user information." His voice softened. "What would you think about that?" "I think it sounds like you," she said, smiling. "Idealistic, a little stubborn, but with a good heart. I'll take that as a compliment." She could hear the smile in his voice. "Can I see you tonight? I want to celebrate. Come over at 7, I'll cook." "You cook?" "I mean, I can heat up lasagna from Trader Joe's," he laughed. "Sounds perfect." 3 weeks later, Naomi sat on her couch grading papers while Eli worked on his laptop beside her. It had become their evening routine, comfortable silence punctuated by the occasional comment or question, sharing space without needing constant conversation. Eli had extended his stay in Portland indefinitely, renting a furnished apartment downtown. But he spent most nights at Naomi's place, claiming her bed was more comfortable than his hotel-quality mattress. They both knew it was an excuse, but neither minded. The media frenzy had died down somewhat. Ryan had resigned from Sparked, amid mounting evidence of his ethical violations. Connexus had withdrawn its acquisition offer, leaving the dating app's future uncertain. The board had approached Eli about returning, but he was hesitant. "I don't know if I can go back," he'd told Naomi. "Too much has happened." Instead, he was focusing on his new project, coding late into the night while she slept beside him. She didn't fully understand the technical aspects, but she understood his passion, his desire to create something meaningful. "Earth to Naomi," Eli said, waving a hand in front of her face. "You've been staring at the same test for 10 minutes. She blinked, realizing she'd been lost in thought. "Sorry, just thinking." "About what?" "Us. How strange it is that we're here, like this. If Amber hadn't pushed me to download that app, if Ryan hadn't been tracking me, if I hadn't had too much wine," Eli smiled, setting his laptop aside. "A lot of coincidences and manipulations led us here. But what matters is what we choose. Now?" "And what are you choosing?" she asked, suddenly serious. He took her hand, his expression matching her tone. "I'm choosing you, Naomi. Every day." The simple declaration warmed her heart. After Jake's abandonment, she'd built walls around herself, convinced that love wasn't worth the risk. But Eli had patiently dismantled those walls, proving with each day that he wasn't going anywhere. "Even if it means staying in Portland?" she asked. "Away from Seattle, from the tech world, you know." "Portland has tech companies too," he pointed out. "And Seattle is only a 3-hour drive. We can make it work." The "we" still thrilled her even after weeks of hearing it. They were a team now, partners facing whatever came next together. Her phone buzzed with a text from Amber. "How's it going with Mr. Billionaire?" Naomi smiled, typing back, "He just fixed Fernando's pot and installed a grow light. I think I'm keeping him." Eli peered over her shoulder. "Fernando's the fiddle leaf, right? Not some ex-boyfriend I should be worried about?" She laughed, leaning into him. "Definitely the plant." He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her closer. "I've been meaning to ask you something. Would you consider being part of my new project? Not just as my girlfriend, but as a consultant. I need someone who understands human connection, who can see beyond the code." "Me? What do I know about tech startups?" "More than you think. You know people, how they communicate, how they learn, how they connect. You do it every day in your classroom." His eyes were earnest. "I don't want to make the same mistakes again, building something without considering the human impact." Naomi was touched by his faith in her. "I'd have to keep teaching. It's who I am." "Of course. This would just be part-time, sharing your perspective. We could work on it together in the evenings like this." The idea appealed to her, being part of creating something positive, using her understanding of people to balance Eli's technical expertise. "I'd like that," she said. His smile was brilliant. "Really? Really? But I have one condition." "Name it." "No tracking code, no backdoors, no way for anyone to manipulate connections the way Ryan did with us." "Absolutely," Eli agreed. "Complete. Transparency and total privacy protection. That's the foundation of the whole concept." He sealed the promise with a kiss, pulling her closer as papers and laptops were pushed aside. In the warmth of his embrace, Naomi felt the last of her doubts melting away. 6 months later, Naomi stood in the back of a crowded conference room, watching Eli on stage. He looked different now, more relaxed, his hair slightly longer, his customary flannel replaced by a simple button-down for the presentation. But his eyes still lit up when he talked about code and connection, his passion evident to everyone, watching. "Genuine is not just another app," he was saying to the assembled tech journalists and industry insiders. "It's a new approach to digital interaction, one that prioritizes real human connection over data collection." On the screen behind him, the logo appeared, a simple design Naomi had helped create, representing interconnected lives. "We built Genuine with 3 core principles," Eli continued. "First, absolute user privacy. Your data belongs to you, period. Second, transparency in our algorithms. No black boxes, no hidden parameters. And third, human oversight of all automated systems." He gestured toward the side of the stage where his small team waited. "That's why our team includes not just engineers, but educators, psychologists and ethicists. People who understand human connection in different contexts." Naomi felt a surge of pride. She had contributed to this, bringing her perspective as both a teacher and someone who had experienced the best and worst of algorithmically driven connections. After the presentation, as journalists crowded around Eli with questions, she slipped outside for some air. The Portland Convention Center overlooked the river, offering a peaceful view of the water and bridges. "There you are." She turned to find Eli approaching, his expression a mixture of exhilaration and relief now that the presentation was over. "Sorry, just needed a moment," she said. "You were amazing up there." "We were amazing," he corrected, taking her hand. "This wouldn't exist without you." It was true in more ways than one. The idea for Genuine had been born during their late-night conversations, Eli's technical knowledge combining with Naomi's insights about how her students connected with each other. She'd pushed him to think beyond dating, to consider all forms of human connection, friendships, mentorships, community building. "Do you think it will work?" she asked. "People are so used to giving away their data for free services." "Some people will always choose convenience over privacy," Eli acknowledged. "But there's a growing market for ethical tech, and we're offering something different, not just protection, but better connections." He pulled her close, his arms around her waist. "Speaking of connections, there's something I've been wanting to ask you." "Oh?" She looked up at him, sensing a shift in his mood. "These past 6 months have been the best of my life." building genuine. Together, watching you with your students, falling asleep next to you every night. He took a deep breath. I know we started in the most unusual way, with algorithms and corporate espionage and media scandals. But what we built from that chaos is real. Naomi's heart began to race as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I don't want to wait any longer to ask this, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring. Naomi Ellis, will you marry me? Tears sprang to her eyes as memories flashed through her mind. The wine-fueled swiping, the breakfast that changed everything, the struggles and triumphs they'd shared since then. Are you sure? She asked, her voice catching. My life was so small before you, yours was so big. And now we've built something new together. Something that's just right. His eyes held hers. I've never been more sure of anything. Naomi thought about how far they'd come, from her initial skepticism to this moment of absolute certainty. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had led them exactly where they needed to be. Yes, she said, her smile radiant through her tears. Yes, I'll marry you. As Eli slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a kiss, Naomi knew she'd never regret that impulsive swipe right. What had begun as an algorithm's calculation had become the most authentic connection of her life. A love no code could have predicted, but that both their hearts had recognized from the start. Inside the convention center, the launch of Genuine continued, a testament to their shared vision of technology that served human connection rather than exploiting it. And outside, overlooking the river, they sealed their own connection with a kiss that promised a future together, one they would write themselves, no algorithms needed. I love you, Eli whispered against her lips. I love you too, Naomi replied, no regrets. And as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms with the city spread out before them, Naomi knew it was true. The swipe that she'd made as a joke, the match she'd assumed was fake, had led her to the most authentic love she'd ever known. Sometimes she thought even an algorithm could get it right. But it was the choices they'd made afterward, to meet, to trust, to fight for each other, that had transformed that digital spark into a love that would last a lifetime. The end.